Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
And welcome in to Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. A little bit of a late start tonight, but we're gonna get things up and running. We've had a little bit of some technical issues, but hopefully we'll get things up and going. And we want to say welcome into Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome to episode, I believe, 48. Of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that covers the sporting HBCU diaspora and all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletics, aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Charles Bishop, until we get Dr. Cavil come in, along with Mike Washington, who looks like to be on assignment tonight, but we'll make sure we all the business of HBCU sports. But we're filming our home studio from our home studios and sending the signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. A lot of information to get to today, of course. We have, as usual, SWAC news. We have news from around the HBCU diaspora. So let's sort of get into those things. And like I said, we have a bit of some technical difficulties. We'll get Dr. Cavil in for a second. I'm Charles Bishop. I'll be leaving for a little while until we get the good doctor to come on in. But let's start first. 2024, the SWAC announces their football conference schedules. We're going to get into some of the ramifications because it is generating quite a bit of dialogue all across the SWAC and all across HBCU landscape. So, of course, we're going to take a look at some of these matchups because we're going to have some very interesting matchups. The SWAC has announced the conference games, football schedules for all 12 SWAC schools for the upcoming 2024 season. Each SWAC team, they will play a total of 8 league games highlighted by 5 divisional contests and 3 non-divisional contests. So we'll get into some more of that after we take this quick break. Like I said, we're working through some technical issues, but let's go to a quick break and we'll bring Dr. Cavil in.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and
Compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. Let's see if we can get Doc in. Doc, I'm having problems hearing you coming out of my ear. So yeah, so we'll see. Can we get you up and running here in a second? I know we got him on camera, but until we get your audio up and going, let me make sure I cover a couple things that I know that we were going to get to with regards to the news. As I mentioned earlier, the SWAC announced the 2024 football conference schedules.
And we'll get into some of that, especially once we get Dr. Cavil and his audio up and going. So I wanted to mention that a complete set of 2024 SWAC football conference games can be accessed via SWAC.org, where you can see the attachments and things of that nature. Another quick item of note in regards to the Florida A&M open coaching job reportedly draws interest of 45 candidates, and this comes to us from HBCUsports.com. The search for the new FAMU football search continued through Sunday with the revelation about the depth of the candidate pool during a Sunday afternoon meeting involving the school's search committee and the search firm Renaissance Search and Consulting. It was reported that 45 candidates applied for the position. And this is a quote here from Chief Operating Officer and Vice President Dr. Donald Palm. We weren't sure we were going to get this many in the pool. I think we have really overachieved what I expected, and I'm excited that we have 45 strong candidates for this position. The names of the coaches who expressed interest in the job were not disclosed due to the concern that doing so would compromise the process, though it is believed that they have HBCU and SWAC ties. The Tallahassee Democrat, they reported that 5 candidates were submitted to FAMU President Dr. Larry Robinson and Athletic Director Tiffany Dawn Sykes. Currently, the FAMU Assistant Head Coach James Cozy is the interim head coach down there at FAM, and is the preferred candidate by the players and some alumni groups. Others also support assistant and former Florida A&M football player Billy Rowe for the role. The committee did not say when a coach would be named, though Sykes indicated she wanted to have someone named before the National Signing Day is. Of course, everybody knows the National Signing Day is on February 7th. She's looking to replace, of course, Coach William Simmons before then, who took the assistant coaching job at Duke. He's now the running backs coach at Duke, and that happened on January 1. 2024 Orange Blossom Classic teams, they were named. Alabama State will take on the North Carolina Central Eagles in the 2024 Orange Blossom Classic. The 2024 Orange Blossom Classic will showcase the Alabama State Hornets and North Carolina Central Eagles at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. And that game will be played Sunday, September 1st. Statement from the executive director of the OBC, Kendra Bullock. The Orange Blossom Classic has always been a beacon of opportunity and unity in the HBC community. And this year we present the talents of North Carolina Central Eagles and the Alabama State University Hornets, offering an exciting experience. We welcome both teams with open arms, and we are excited about the unique energy and competition they will bring to the Classic. Let's see if we got Dr. Cavil back in there with the audio.
Hey, Charles, how's it
There
going?
we go. How you doing, Doc? We got you back in there.
Man, I got all excited about the sweater you got on. I was going to tell everybody, let everybody see the back of it, but I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I know. I gotta turn around to the camera. It's got all the SWAC teams on the back. So definitely one of the dope sweaters in the closet there. So
Man, I wonder how you got a hold of that one.
yeah, I got somebody to thank for getting a hold of this one. Let me see if I can flip my back to
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Got all 12 schools on there.
Got all 12 schools on the back. All 12 schools on the back.
Well, Charles, I've been deaning today, so the deaning got me a little bit.
Understood.
But I see that you're getting in here and we're getting it going. What kind of news you got going on with yourself?
Yeah, no doubt. We talked about we'll get into it. Of course, the schedules that came out today with regards to the SWAC team that will be in action in 2024 is generating a lot of buzz in terms of when if we're going to see some of those matchups. We touched on the teams that will be playing in the Orange Blossom Classic this year. It'll be Alabama State, Eddie Robinson and his Hornets taking on Trey Oliver and the North Carolina Central Eagles. So those are.
Let me ask you that question, since Jackson State and FAMU have been in that classic over the last 3 years. What are your thoughts with that going on? Before we get into this little media, I want to get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that move?
Well, I think there's a little bit of fatigue with regards to Jackson State fans making the travel down to Miami for the past 3 years. So I think you get you generate some interest with some other schools playing down there in the Orange Blossom Classic. But I think that brings us to the other piece of news, of course, when we get to the schedules. Now that we see Florida A&M will be making a trek to Jackson, Mississippi this year to take on Jackson State, and that has become one of the more heated rivalries in the SWAC. So this year, I think Jackson State fans are taking a sigh of relief, a breath of not having to spend that money to go all the way down there to Miami. Everybody was asking, where were y'all at this past year? That been to Atlanta the week before, and then you got to go down to Miami after that. That expendable income only goes so far. So,
especially when you've done it a couple of times, but so much you can get excited about the trip. When you've done it 2 years in a row. So that's part of it too, that you just get off a big momentous trip, and a lot of people going to Atlanta. Obviously it's different. It is Atlanta. It's a good drive. You can get in there, easy to fly into. And you got the, debut of the new coach. And so a lot of people want to be in for that. And so, yeah, just scheduling, those are some things you want to think about it. Let's take our first break. But before you do that, I know you have a video that you wanted to show in regards to the new coach, Texas Southern University, his media day. Did you get a bit of that information?
Yeah, I did get. We were at Coach Chris Dishman's introductory press conference today, and Roy, if you roll some of that B-roll there, you can take the audio out. But yeah, we had an opportunity to catch some of that in terms of the rollout of Chris Dishman, who's now the head coach at Texas Southern. So a lot of media dignitaries there earlier today. A lot of questions were asked of Coach Dishman. And a bit of breaking news. We're going to have him on this Thursday where he will lay out his vision for his Texas Southern program. So looking forward to what the Dishman era brings with regards to Texas Southern football.
Couple of things that I hadn't quite always seen. Obviously, you had the VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, Dr. Kevin Granger. But as you see from the video, you have two of the regions.
Yeah, he was playing by two of the regions.
And the chair there in regards to welcoming him. That's a little different. The other thing that I noticed was a little different is not very often when you bring in a new coach that you have the coach of the rival institution. Prairie A&M University, Coach Bubba McDowell was there. And certainly you can understand in this case with them being teammates and things of that nature. But that was a little different. So getting off to a hot start, Texas Southern University in terms of the official press conference today. It'll be fascinating to see. It sounds like there's some news out there potentially for Morehouse. Obviously, you had the news with FAMU in terms of potential finalists. So it looks like finally things are culminating. We're going to get some announcements of these head coaches. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like as we get into it. But let's get back to a little basketball. We'll come back on the other side. We'll do the top 5 for the major division of the women as we get into it. And then we'll save that last 15-minute segment. I want to go into it, and you kind of tease one out with FAMU going to Jackson in terms of the big games. But I want to get more into your excitement with the fan excitement. What are some of the big games that they're looking forward to? So as we do the poll rankings and throughout the show, I want folks to go ahead and send up their top matchups. What are they most looking forward to in terms of the release of the SWAC games? Obviously, they just flipped essentially from last year. It may be some new non-conference games to get you exciting, maybe some SWAC non-conference conference matchups, as I like to call them. But with all that being said, I'd like to see, for those viewing the show, what are their thoughts on some of the games they're looking forward to this year and why. But that being said, let's take our first break, come back on the other side, and get into the major division of the poll rankings.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Charles, did you give the introduction? Officially,
I did.
So forth.
I did. I said 479. I might have said
so
48.
good at the game now, man. I guess you getting ready for the episode 500 for real, 501, aren't you?
We might be pulling ourselves on into the stable for our episode 501. So.
Oh boy, let's get into the major division poll rankings. Top 5 for the women's division. Not a lot of changes in terms of the women's, but let's get into it. Nobody dropped out of the poll, as I said. In terms of the top 5, not a lot of changes. Some new teams maybe at the top. We'll see what that looks like, or rearranged in the polls. Those getting votes are still outside of some of the teams that are up and down. Southern Jaguars, 5-11, 3-2 in conference play. Probably the surprise to everybody is UAPB. The Golden Lions for the women's are 8-10, 3-2. They had their second step back, very close game, closed back into it, but couldn't quite get over the hump. Looked like they had bounced back and got a big win on Saturday. And then, as you like to say, those Mondays, and boy, did they take a fall and victim to it. Coppin State Eagles, they're at the top of the MEAC. They hadn't played Norfolk State yet, but Norfolk State took a loss. We'll talk a little bit about that more. They couldn't jump in the top 5, but they certainly in the hot hunt as they are hot 3-0 in the MEAC, the topsy-turvy MEAC, and just as wild on the men's side, but we'll get to that in the next segment. Alabama A&M Bulldogs 8-9, 3-2, another team that's kind of playing up and down, so they give you some indication of those teams on the outside. With that being said, let's go to number 5. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, they had bounced back this weekend. Big 2 victories over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Then improved their record to 12-6 overall. 3-2 in the conference race, looking good with 49 points. Bringing us to number 4, Grambling State Tigers, 10-6, 4-1, 57 points at the 4th spot. They had a pretty good weekend as they got the big win over Southern, and they took them to the woodshed in terms of how they got it done in that matchup. So that was fascinating. At number 3, Spartans, Norfolk State Spartans. I told you they took a loss. It was in conference play, 13-5, 2-1. They fall from the number 1 spot, so we will have a new number 1 this weekend with 61 points as they keep it going. At number 2, North Carolina A&T Aggies, they're rolling in conference play. 2nd year in a row where they started off really hot in the CAA. They're at 10-6, 4-1, 73 points, but they stay at number 2. But number 1 team, they jumped from the 3 spot all the way to number 1 is Jackson State Tigers, 10-6, 5-0. They're rolling in conference play, big wins, undefeated in conference play, all 8 first place votes, 80 points, bringing up number 3. It'll be interesting to see how long they can stay up there with the Spartans chasing them. That was previous number 1. And more importantly, the Aggies at number 2 are looking really good in terms of what that looks like. So I'm fascinated to see what your thoughts are. Before we got in the top 5, let me know your thoughts on Coppin State, if you would, in regards to them being 3-0 in the MEAC on the women's side.
Well, I think they've been an early surprise when you take a look at what they're doing over there in the MEAC. Like you said, they started out 3-0, big win over Morgan State this past Monday. But a couple of young ladies that I want to make mention of, Faith Blackstone had a huge game against Morgan State. And then Layla Lawrence, she's been a double-double machine for Coppin State. So they've been an early surprise going 3-0 thus far.
With that being said, look at those top 5 for me. What are your thoughts on the top 5? Before you jump out there with the number 1, because I want to get your thoughts on that specifically. But before you do that, what do you think about Norfolk State? Their tough upset loss on the road to Howard, which surprised a lot of people. Not just that they lost on the road to Howard, that won a couple of years ago, but the fact how they lost, right, and that Howard wasn't necessarily playing very well coming into conference play. Right. What are your thoughts in terms of that?
It was really a dominant victory by Howard, and I think that's what caught me by surprise. The fact that they built up a 14-point lead at one point, 34-20 in their game, and they never really took their foot off the gas, and that was kind of surprising that Norfolk State never could really get themselves back in the game. So that was one that kind of caught me by surprise. The other one, big one that caught me by surprise, come back over to the SWAC, was Bethune-Cookman, and what they've done thus far. They've jumped themselves up into the top 5, but a huge road win over Don Thornton's UAPB Golden Lions. And when we take a look at UAPB, that's the second time they've stubbed their toe this year. Lost on the road to Texas Southern. Now they've lost one at home. Starting to wonder about some of the chemistry things that are going on up there, because with regards to that team, that is one of the better teams that I thought in the SWAC.
Yeah, good stuff. Jackson State Tigers, they find them way back in the number 1 spot. They're playing well, and they are dominating teams. They look like they are on a mission. Yeah, they didn't win the tournament championship, but they look like they've taken that personal. What are your thoughts in terms of the women at Jackson State, how they're playing, and the fact now they jumped to the number 1 spot? Do you think they will hold on to it is also the question I want to ask you.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, because I think this weekend Jackson State going on the road to play an upstart Bethune-Cookman team. That's going to be an early test, I think, for the Lady Tigers in terms of that atmosphere, especially in Moore Gymnasium. I know the Aggies fans are going to wonder how is Jackson State going to jump them in the poll this week, but Jackson State, they've been playing some lights out basketball, and they're getting it both done in some categories that I'm really paying attention to, rebounding, second chance points. That's been huge for Jackson State. And then they're hitting some outside shots. Adriana Avan has been a great addition to this Jackson State basketball team in terms of her ability to knock down shots from the outside and also get in the lane and create some habit and create some easy buckets for some other players. So Jackson State, like you said, it looks like they've been playing with a huge chip on their shoulder. and Tamika Reed on the chip on her shoulder. That's a dangerous team.
Yeah. With that being said, staying in the SWAC, you have UAPB on the road to Southern. That is the Saturday, and then on Monday they go to Grambling, who are truly playing well. So Pine Bluff has the chance to kind of show that, yeah, we stubbed our toe, but we're still really in the mix. Or it can get quite ugly in terms of them adding 3, maybe 4 losses this week. I think Southern will be an interesting one, particularly after the big loss on the road. You know, they're going to want to get their minds right and get it straight. They have a couple of extra days of practice. They didn't have that Monday contest. So that's fascinating to me. And Grambling obviously is playing really well. On that troubled Monday, particularly on the road. So that's one that kind of keeps my eyes. What are your thoughts on those 2 games?
Yeah, big weekend. This past weekend for Grambling. I think the score at one point was 40-15. It really a score that really just threw me off. Like I thought I read it wrong. I had to put my glasses on. But big weekend for Grambling, and then like you said, a huge weekend this upcoming weekend in terms of taking on UAPB. That's going to be an interesting battle to me with regards to can this UAPB team get it together, because they do have all the pieces. And you're talking about Zay Green, I think one of the premier players, not just in this conference, but in the country, somebody who I truly believe will be a WNBA pick. I think she already has 2 triple-doubles already thus far on the season. 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's go into the MEAC. We got some key matchups. Howard told you they had that huge upset there at Morgan State in terms of the Saturday matchup. And then you have Coppin State at Norfolk State. I told you Coppin State, while they're outside of the top 5, they are 3-0 in conference play. You have Norfolk State that stubbed the toe. Again, these are teams that play Saturday, a couple of days of play. You do have a non-conference matchup with Maryland Eastern Shore Townsend early on, but I really wanted to look at these conference games. What are your thoughts at Howard and Morgan State, and then Coppin State and Norfolk State?
Coppin State and Norfolk State, that's the one that I'm really looking forward to. We'll see if Kiara Wheeler and Diamond Johnson can get back off the schneid. That was a surprising performance against Howard. But like you said, Coppin State, they're the upstart, 3-0 thus far, and they're playing some great basketball. But taking on this Norfolk State that now has a loss on the ledger, we'll see if they can come back out with a little more fighting vigor this upcoming weekend.
Not only that, we get to see real quick how real Coppin State is. Guess who they got on Monday? They at home, but they got Howard.
They got Howard, yeah.
How about beat Norfolk State that you saying? So you talking about having 2 big matchups. So Coppin State can make a major statement this weekend, if you would, in regards to what they look in the MEAC. With that being said, let me look a little bit. One last one. Wouldn't be right if we didn't get in here and look at what's taking place for North Carolina A&T. They're on the road. They're versus Campbell's. They come in at 10-6. Campbell's is 9-8. And then on Sunday, A&T hosts Elon in terms of those matchups. So a little interesting there when you talk about what's going on. North Carolina A&T, they are essentially tied or a half game behind in first place. Stony Brook is sitting at 5-1 in the conference. They're 4-1, so a half game brat because they hadn't played the same amount of games. But as we said, they have Campbell that sits at 2-4 in the conference race, and they have then on Sunday they do a Sunday, I should say, Elon that sits at 3-3. So they get a chance to continue to make their statement in the CAA. Any final thoughts on them?
Yeah, well, I'm expecting a 2-0 weekend for the Aggies in terms of what they should be able to get done. They should be able to keep the wheels rolling over there in the CAA. They're playing some very great basketball thus far in the season. When I started kind of taking a look at this top 5 poll, I have to be sure that I pay attention to North Carolina A&T because they've been playing such great ball thus far in the season.
I agree with you. Keep your eyes on the Aggies. Those ladies over there are getting it done. With that, let's take our second break. We'll come back on the side and give you our men's top 5 and see what Charles thinks about that. Stickers will be right back after this second break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavil's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Cavil's Voice, Cavil's Voice, Cavil'sVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's jump right into it. I see somebody says Tennessee State men's basketball is on a 3-game win streak. It's interesting that you talk about it because we will get into it a little bit about Tennessee State and see if they find a way to stay in the top 5 and where they may be ranked. Nobody dropped out, so all 5 teams are still here. Those teams, we did have some different teams moving around and receiving some votes. Alabama State Hornets, 9-9, 4-1. Probably the surprise of the year in terms of what they're doing early in the SWAC race. Southern Jaguars sit at 9-9, 3-2. They started off hot, but they've kind of fallen on hard times. They went up the road to Grambling and jumped out early, but Grambling walked them down and got it done. So the Grambling State Tigers are 7-11, 4-1 as they look at it. But they're going to be in the mix as they're actually looking at what's going on in that mix. Let's get into the top 5 programs on the men's side. At number 5, you have Jackson State Tigers that sit at 8-10, 4-1. Saturday, Prairie View jumped up and got them. They were rolling, but they bounced back and take down Texas Southern. They're actually playing pretty good the last couple of games. A big game in terms of the Tigers wanting to make a statement of the team. The Texas Southern Tigers that have won the conference tournament the last 3 years consecutively. Solid win. They do fall a spot with that loss from 3, but they are still in the top 5. Bringing us to number 4. Number 4, Delaware State Hornets. Surprising. You talk Coppin State on the women's side of the MEAC. Well, guess who's 3-0 on the men's side of the MEAC? That's your number 4 team, the Delaware State Hornets, that sit at 10-9, 3-0. 73 points. They stay at number 4 after getting 1 win last week. Bringing you to number 3, Norfolk State Spartans. They fall from the number 1 spot. Had a major upset this past weekend that surprised a lot of folks. Just when people said the MEAC is going to do what it does, the MEAC gives you an early stumble bug as Norfolk State falls. They fall at 12-8 overall and 2-1 in the conference race. They still hold on to 2 first-place votes with 89 points as they fall from the 2 spot. At number 2, though, you have none other than North Carolina Central Eagles, and that's who I should say was the number 1 spot after they defeated Norfolk State. They started off the season as number 1, if you would, in the open week 0, as we like to call it, before we get into conference play. North Carolina Central Eagles had a tough loss, 10-8, 2-1, 4 first-place votes, so they fall from the number 1 spot. They just fall 1 rank as they get it done. Guess who's number 1? Somebody talked about it earlier, Tennessee State Tigers. 11-9. They've won 3 straight. They're 4-3 in conference play over there in the Ohio Valley. Number 5, 104. They jumped all the way up from number 5 to grab onto the number 1 spot. They're really hot, great overall record. Take some lumps in OVC, but it looks like they've got some things going. We'll talk a little bit about some key matchups this weekend. But before we do that, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the men's side of the top 5 this week in week number 3?
Tennessee State, surprising in terms of they're getting it rolling up there in the OVC. Always tough conference, but win 3 in a row. Give their kudos to the Tennessee State basketball team with regards to what they've been doing lately. I'm going to start from the bottom. Jackson State, tough loss against Prairie View. And I can't say enough about Prairie View's defense. I mean, they've just made it really, really tough for Jackson State Saturday night. And what jumped out to me was once Jackson State couldn't get any shots to fall, their body language started to change, And I think that doubt kind of creep in a little bit in that game. So a big win for Prairie View on the road. You always want to get a split. Huge bounce back for Jackson State to come back and get the win against Texas Southern because Texas Southern traditionally has kind of owned Jackson State. I think Jackson State now have won 2 in a row against Texas Southern. Delaware State, they've been the surprise for me in terms of what they've been doing thus far, 3-0 in the conference. Marquez Robinson, a guy who can knock buckets down from outside, who can get in the lane, cause confusion, get to the free throw line, get some easy buckets. Big win from Delaware State. Watching them going forward, I'm going to keep an eye on Delaware State. Hornets, Norfolk State, that was a shocker. Did not see them with that loss on Saturday. Another shocker was North Carolina Central in terms of losing to South Carolina State. You talk about Monday, weird things happen. That was my Monday weird one for the week.
Yep. Besides Grambling State on Saturday, shout out as they got the sweep the brooms, getting it done against Southern. So shout out to what's going on there. I see shout out to Dr. Scott as he is checking out all the mix and see what's going on. But I want to get in a little more in terms of the dialogue. You talked about some of these key matchups. Fascinating with Tennessee State on Thursday. As I kind of told you, I happened to watch that game. And it was, just your normal game. They jump out 10-0, so you're like, oh, maybe they're going to get it to them. And Tennessee Tech fought back. And it was actually just a 36-30 game at halftime. 10 minutes into the game, they did not allow Tennessee Tech, the Golden Eagles, to score 10 points. And I was just like done. I was amazed. They blew them out. Obviously, they scored a couple of more points in the rest of the second half, but they dominated that matchup and on the go and get a big win. But with that being said, also, I know Edwin D. Moore asked the question, how many basketball programs are in the MEAC? There's actually 8. We think about football, there's 6 programs, but in basketball, they have 8, Coppin State and Maryland Eastern Shore, that do not have football programs but play basketball. We talked about Coppin State on the women's side at a 3-0, but you have Maryland Eastern Shore in the mix. Then you had Roberts talk about Jeff Roberts asked, could he get some votes? They playing some pretty good basketball. I tell you what's easy. You keep winning. Not only you get votes, you can find a way to jump in, not just receiving votes, but jump in the top 5. But kudos to them. This is a team that you were questioning whether they were going to go 0 for the season. They turned it on a little late in terms of non-conference play, getting a big win over there in Chris Paul. They had a tough loss to Central that obviously was number 1 part of the year. And then they get into conference play, and they really get some big victories. Can they continue to push it, get it going? Have to give some credit to the Aggies in terms of what are they getting done at this point in the season. I have my eyes on them. We'll see if they can continue to push it up, much like our independent program at Tennessee State. So great points, great questions. Now it's time. Oh, go ahead, Charles.
Well, I wanted to go into this upcoming week in terms of, let's say the Aggies continue to do what they've been doing. Who's the team that they can push out? Who is the team that has probably the toughest goal this weekend?
Yeah, good stuff. Let me ask you about some of the games this weekend. We'll get into it. Perfect time to do that. Let's start with the MEAC first. In the MEAC, obviously, you have that Coppin State at Norfolk State. We talked about it on the women's side, where here we have it on the men's side. Coppin State is struggling at 10-15, but Norfolk State wants to keep going Any thoughts in terms of that matchup? You have Morgan hosting Howard in terms of that, and then obviously the North Carolina Central and Maryland Eastern Shore. It gets a little more into the mix when you talk about on Monday. You have North Carolina Central taking on Delaware State.
That's the
North
one.
Carolina Central is 10-8. Delaware State is 10-9. So not much going on. Maybe Saturday you keep your eyes just to see if there's anything that stirs you a drink, if you will. But really Monday is when it gets interesting. You have two teams coming in with overall winning records, which is always nice this early in the season. Both teams are playing pretty well, but the upstart Delaware State Hornets are undefeated, and they want to keep it that way. Central does not want to take another loss. Obviously, they had that upset against South Carolina State on the road this weekend, and they're going to be looking to fix what ails them. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I think the Monday night matchup, that's the one I'm looking forward to, Delaware State, North Carolina Central. Thus far, they've been in the first quarter of the conference games, they've been two of the heavyweights. So to see them face off, that's going to be fun. The other couple games that I'm keeping an eye on this weekend, Jackson State on the road at Bethune-Cookman. We've seen what the More Magic did against Southern. What can Jackson State do against Bethune-Cookman on the road? That's going to be fairly interesting. And like you mentioned, Alabama State sitting just outside that top 5 in terms of their men's basketball team. Well, they do the Texas two-step this weekend, so we'll see what Alabama State can do in terms of trying to get into the top 5.
Yep, and they sitting at 4-1 in conference. They want to make a statement that for real they go on the road. Texas two-step, as you said, always tough, no matter what's going on with their teams. I'm going to get to Manic Monday. That's when you say things happen to shape up, and you can get your slip-ups. Obviously, you got the Jackson State at FAMU. Bethune-Cookman is probably the more interesting game, but FAMU is coming off a win against Mississippi Valley, so they're feeling a little better on themselves, and is that Monday. You have UAP at Grambling, Mississippi Valley at Southern, Alabama A&M at Prairie View, Alcorn at Bethune-Cookman. I'd imagine that last one with Alcorn getting the big win against Prairie View and really beat them up. Yeah. It's probably the one that you're kind of looking at other than maybe Jackson State at FAMU. In terms of just the, as you like to call it, that Monday on the road, any of those give you a little hesitation? Pine Bluff maybe at Grambling?
Pine Bluff at Grambling, that probably gives me a bit of pause. And then Alcorn at Bethune on Monday?
Yes.
I think that's another one that to keep your eye on. If there's
yep. That Alcorn and Bethune that's the one I kind of got my eye on. So I agree with you. Can Alcorn find a way to continue to right the ship? Bethune-Cookman is playing solid, but they played some close games. Yeah. Even the game they got against Pine Bluff the other night, as Pine Bluff got it done. You just got to watch because they play really well and they play better at home. So maybe that's the one.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to those independent. No Thursday game for Tennessee State, but they're on the road at Eastern Illinois that comes in at 9 and 10 in terms of what they got going on. So I'm kind of intrigued about that matchup. Yeah. Can Tennessee State continue to get it going? Eastern Illinois is just at 3-3 in the conference race. So not anything that scares you, but it is on the road. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Well, I think, like you said, it is on the road, so you keep an eye on all those games when your team is getting on the road. But I don't think they should have any issues with Eastern Illinois. I expect Tennessee State to continue to keep things rolling right in the middle of the lane there.
Let's go to A&T. Since they asked us to keep an eye on it, you talking about a team that can make a statement? A&T is on the road at Delaware that comes in at 11 and 8 overall. Delaware is in the standings just 3-3 though, so we'll see can they get it going. But then you got that matchup, if you would, on Saturday, which is A&T at Drexel. Guess what? Drexel's overall record 14-6, but they're 7-0 in the conference. So A&T gets a chance for
Big
Jeff
statement.
Roberts. Yeah, they get a chance to make a statement. So I'm interested in both of these games. They can get either one of them. Particularly as Drexel on Monday, but they can find a way to bring out a broom on the road. Oh, yeah, we'll start looking at A&T, the Aggies, in much different light. Any thoughts on terms of those independent matchups there?
No, I think that's the big one. You mentioned it on the road this weekend. Anytime we've talked about it ad nauseum. Anytime you're getting on the road, you want to get something, get momentum, anything that wins that you can get on the road. But that'll be a huge statement if they go to Drexel and get that W against a 7-0 team thus far in the conference play.
I like the way you think. I'm on the same page with that. Let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and get into the SWAC football matchup. Some of these had trickled out, but now we have it all. I want to know, where is your excitement in terms of the matchups, and what does everybody else seem to be excited about? What's the buzz on social media in terms of what the fans are saying about games they're looking forward to? Stick with us. We'll be right back out of this break. We'll see what Charles has to say.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavil's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Cavil's Voice, Cavil's Voice, Cavil'sVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Phil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. With that being said, Charles, before we get into some key matchups that just has you either pausing or excited about, what's the big talk out there that you've heard in terms of SWAC, Twitter, social media, in terms of what people are talking about, just HBCU in general?
I think one of the big conversations today is the fact Florida A&M, the schedule comes out, still no head coach in place. And, basically, people talking about wanting to get their league back. FAMU, they ran through the conference last year. You talk about 8-0 in the conference play, and everybody, I think things are just going to be so wide open in the SWAC this upcoming year. It makes for a really exciting year because when you talk about all the coaching changes, I think me and you started kind of taking a look around the conference, and just from a standpoint of continuity, who are the quarterbacks that are coming back? There aren't a lot of quarterbacks coming back. So I think things could be very wide open. Bethune-Cookman, with what they've done recruiting-wise, is generating buzz in terms of some of the games that they have on their schedule and who's coming to them. One of the ones that kind of piqued my interest, Jackson State going to Daytona in October. We want to see if one of these teams that were toward the bottom, if they can make a big jump, especially in a year where the perception is there are a lot of teams down.
And that's going to be interesting when you talk about teams down. And I'm going to be fascinated, will teams be down? I think it's really intriguing at this point that the last three coaches, meaning the last three teams that have dominated the conference in terms of either the number of championships they won over a period of time or what they did in terms of going undefeated in the conference or just one loss. Obviously, you go more than 3 years back, pre-COVID, you had the Alcorn State Braves. Coach McNair is not there anymore. So you're talking about people wanting some lickbacks. I'm sure there's some people that are still looking at the Braves as something they want to beat up on, although they hadn't come out of the West since they switched over. Can they find a way to finally turn the needle and get back to where they were pre-COVID? Then right after COVID, you had Jackson State that ran through the conference undefeated and got it done in terms of winning the conference back-to-back years. And then last year, FAMU finally got over the hurdle. They only had one loss in conference play. That was to Jackson State each of those first 2 years as they joined the conference. And then last year, they run the table and finally knocked down that door, getting out the gates, feeding Jackson State. Then they come in there. So not only you talk about the fact that you don't have starting quarterbacks really coming back for these teams that are upperclassmen, junior and senior, and that's not to say anything negative with the transfer news of Texas Southern quarterback going over to Alabama State, but he only played in one game last year, and it was a loss. So even when you talk about that matchup, it'll be fascinating. So you kind of jumped out of there. I like that. Can people get that lick backs? Well, you talking about September 28th. The first opportunity to do that is that matchup of Alabama A&M. They're on the road to FAMU. Coach Maynard is the senior leader. If we go back 3 years to the new SWAC, when I say new SWAC, I'm talking about expansion SWAC with 12 teams.
Yeah.
Maynard is the only coach that is still left that was here in 2021. Can he take that next step? And this is really one to kind of open things off in conference play where he gets an early test to see what that looks like, and it's on the road. So that's the first one that kind of piques my eye with all those things coming together, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you hit the nail on the head on that one because not only on the road at FAM, but they have this huge home game winning streak at Bragg. Can FAMU hold serve at home, and you get a nice test with regards to, and here's some buzz going along as well. You mentioned Coach Maynard being the dean of coaches in the SWAC. How much are the Alabama A&M faithful looking at him this year like, hey, we got to make a move now? You know, we've heard enough of Jackson State, heard enough of FAMU. We're ready to get back in the mix. You know, we haven't really heard or seen at Alabama A&M since the spring, since that spring where they won the SWAC championship.
Yeah, great point. Edwin D. Moore makes up a good one. He says he hates the SWAC front-loaded practically all of the schedules with 4 of the 3 straight divisional games with only 1 late. I believe it is best to open up with a cross division with 1 division in September and 2 in October and 1 in November. I believe that makes for a far more exciting conference race. I like a lot of the points you make there in terms of really being that more strategic, where you put your divisional races later in the season and maybe some other cross big matchups early. That's taking a model for the NFL. NFL does that quite a bit with the team. So that's something to keep your eyes on to see if they talk about. But while that September game in 28th kind of opened things up with just a slew of games, you actually have 5 SWAC contests on September 28th. I got to say, with being here in Texas, and so some biasness there, Texas Southern at Prairie View. Prairie View coming out of the West Division. Obviously, Coach McDowell, they got over the hump in terms of getting into division after they let down and couldn't get it done with that road loss to Mississippi Valley 2 years ago. Can they take the next step and win the conference? Well, they lose. They got to do it with the new quarterback. See if that transfer portal is going to pay dividends. We'll see what that looks like. But now this matchup is with Texas Southern. Becomes interesting with 2 Oiler players coming out. We talked about it earlier with the media day. That's one for different reasons maybe that has a little interest to kick things off Labor Day Classic between Texas Southern and Prairie View with Chris Dishman and Bubba McDowell in terms of that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was waiting on the rest of the Houston Oilers to show up today. I was looking for Lamar Lathan. I was looking for Haywood Jeffries. I was just waiting on this Oiler reunion today. But I think that's going to be a fun matchup. And it was a unique juxtaposition with Prairie View's head coach being there at the press conference there today with regards to Chris Dishman. Both teammates and both now face off each other in what is going to be a pivotal game in terms of getting an early foothold in the SWAC West.
You talking about the rest of the Houston Oilers? Surprised Eddie Robbins didn't decide to show up.
Right, exactly.
Hey, why not? It's not like he still doesn't have a house here. But with that being said, let me go to you and ask what another matchup that you're looking forward to before I get in a couple of more that I have highlighted.
I immediately went to Florida A&M and the Alabama A&M game. That was one September 28th. That jumps out for me. I continue to make this case with regards to some of the names that we've seen around the SWAC. Mickey Joseph is a name that people in Louisiana have talked about, either associated with in the mix at the Southern job. Obviously now he takes over the helm at Grambling. And I continuously say Grambling just doesn't stay down for forever and a day. I'm very interested to see what does Grambling do this upcoming season. They get Alcorn coming in on October 12th. That game always in the hole down there in Grambling, always huge. Alcorn fans, you don't have Fred Bennett to kick around anymore. So let's see, what this Alcorn team does, because honestly, Alcorn always found themselves in the mix. But, there was always, grumbling on the reservation, if you will. But now you have Cedric Thomas there. So we'll see what this Alcorn Braves team looks like going forward. I think the one a lot of people
let me pause you there before you go to the next one. You talking about life in the mix, because I like that without McNair. And how would it be, since he seems to be in the mix down at FAMU, both in terms of what the consulting group said, he was one of the 5 that at least was reported out. Also in terms of the affinity groups, he was one of the 5 that came out. So, boy, you talking about it can be interesting, but you're right. Now you have L.A., life after McNair. It'll be fascinating to see what that means, LAM. Other thing is, you spoke about Grambling. They don't stay down for long. Obviously, significant hire there. It'd be fascinating to see what that looks like. But I'm fascinating. If I'm reading this right, their first conference game is in the State Fair Classic against Prairie View.
Yeah.
Prairie View will have 2 games under their belt, both of them in conference play. I mean, Prairie View going to find out really early, at least in the division, where they stand. I told you about opening things up against the Labor Day Classic weekend was September 21st. Prairie View has Southern, and then September 28th, Grambling and Prairie View. So it's interesting. Grambling's first game in conference play will be in the State Fair Classic. I know you were going to go back to another one. What else did you have?
I can't tell you how many Jackson State people have texted me today, and they starting to book rooms. All right. They're booking rooms in Mobile for Alabama A&M. They're booking rooms in Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. They are excited about the schedule coming out. you got Florida A&M coming into the vet. And the vet over the past few years now, it has been a nightmarish place to play for teams. I've looked at the game November 16th. Is that going to be for the SWAC East title when they go to Montgomery to take on Alabama State? So that's going to be a pretty a game that I think a lot of people circle, not just Jackson State people, but just talking in general about the SWAC today. That was one of the games that was definitely one that was circled. And like I said, I think it's kind of refreshing with regards to this Bethune-Cookman team. They've generated quite a bit of buzz today in terms of just some of the things that they've been able to do in recruiting. They've quietly been going about getting a lot of things done recruiting-wise. Raymond Woody is trying to build something down. Exactly. So they've been generating quite a bit of buzz in terms of where they fall on somebody's schedule. And like I said, I always keep an eye on what Alcorn State Braves are going to do this year.
Yeah, you speak of FAMU again, and before they see Jackson State on October 19th, they would have already played Alabama A&M. They would have already played Alabama State, which is going to be interesting. I have the Alabama State Jackson State game as an intriguing one for me in regards, and it's in November. Could it mean something going down the stretch? And this is a game where both teams have played for homecoming the last couple of years, and the road team has won. So that's one that's going to shape out, and potentially late in the year, where Edwin D. Moore talked about most of these being front-loaded, which FAMU and Jackson example that this is one that's back-loaded that could, if things work out, could be very interesting to see what that looks like. So fascinating in terms of that matchup. Another one is that Southern at FAMU, obviously going to have two new coaches breaking in that. And so with that being said, we said LAM, now you got LAW, Life After Willie Simmons, or LAS after Simmons. It's fascinating when you talk about it, because it would be fun to see Simmons go into Jackson. We won't get to see that. That would have been one I would have had to get down there with you, Charles, go into Jackson just to see what that looks like. I imagine it would have been some fun leading into that, and certainly in the post game, no matter what would take place. But that chapter has been closed, so we got another one. We'll see what that looks like. Before we close out, any last thing that's on your mind that you wanted to talk about there?
Well, real quickly, I was just curious. When you start taking a look at the teams not named Florida A&M or Prairie View, who are the teams that could push as of January 23rd, when we start taking a look at these schedules? When you start taking a look at the Jackson State 5-3, Alabama State 5-3 last year in conference play, Alcorn 6-2, Southern 5-3. Who are the teams that can push their way into the next level?
Yeah, that'll be what we do every week during the fall to kind of see what goes down. What are the ups and downs? Who's going to be on the ledge? Why are they on the ledge for different weeks? Who's going to be the front runner? Can they hold on to it? Who's going to maybe charge down the stretch? It'll be fascinating as already people are talking about 2024. As you said, Jackson State fans are excited. They are booking their tickets in December now for the Celebration Bowl. I wonder any other fans out there booking some rooms.
And let me say this, while we have this band national championship, bands, get your budgets together now so that you can start traveling when you got these games that you need to be at. I see you all in Atlanta. That's great, but make sure you get to where you need to be for this upcoming season to root on your team, be that 12th man in the stand.
Yep, you got big money there in terms of that national championship. Credit to HBCU Sports.com. Getting it done is they had a reward out there in terms of who's champions voting on that, and that's going down between Southern and Jackson State. So fascinating to see what that looks like as well. So, yep, get your budget out. Get it done. It's time to get on the road. I'll bring out my poll rankings, and it's an important part of that. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports. with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to Thursday as we give you the latest in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Lecture? Is Roy back there?
Dismissed.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.